What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, out of nowhere, a new old system was announced, and I am quite impressed by what's been shown here and opens up a bunch of questions even for some of these other companies when it comes to their retro offerings, but we'll go over all of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, which has been the worst kept secret for the longest time. Now, though, it appears the release date has leaked out a bit early. And we have to talk about, can't believe this one, Fairgames. That's right, we're getting more information on it, a game that's been missing for 3 years now. And unfortunately, it doesn't look any better, really, but we'll go over all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we're every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, going over the world of gaming news, trying to keep you up to date. So just know, even if you don't get a notification in the morning for a video, there's probably still one to check out. And we're going to start today with Metro 2039. We did have the reveal for it yesterday, and you can see some of that trailer here. And they say, we are thrilled to officially unveil the next mainline Metro title from 4A Games, Metro 2039, coming to Xbox Series, PlayStation 5, Steam, and Epic Game Store this winter. Of course, winter time, it's kind of a broad range, could end up in 2027, but for now, I'm going to assume they're going to make it out in time for the holiday season 2026. They say, join us on our darkest journey yet as our protagonist, the stranger hurtles through a loop of a never-ending nightmare, never certain of what is real. At the end of this video, they showed what was in-game or in-engine visuals, and it looked good. That's what you expect from Metro. It's going to push PC hardware, certainly when you turn up all the settings, but also even on consoles. It's going to look like a very, very good game, all right, in terms of visuals. And if you've just been curious about the Metro franchise, I also noticed there's a bundle. It's called the Saga Bundle. It's marked down heavily, like 95, 80%, something like that. It's like $7 something. So, I mean, that's a pretty good deal. Just outright 3 different titles there, 2033, Last Light, and then Metro Exodus. So exciting stuff there, I'm sure, for Metro fans. Definitely gonna keep an eye on this one as we head towards the end of the year. Also, we had some strange stuff happening with Overwatch 2, or Overwatch, I guess, on the Switch 2, as there was a Switch 2 version that was pushed, and the idea being the frame rate would be higher, it'd look better in terms of visuals. Well, it didn't really seem to happen, and there was a problem. It was still sitting at 30 FPS, and people had a lot of questions as to what happened, because that was not the goal, obviously, is what they were saying with their marketing. Were they lying about this? Well, it turns out it was a bug of some kind that was keeping the frame rate at 30 FPS, and we can see now, through an update over on Nintendo Life, the game director, Aaron Keller, has now confirmed the bug causing a 30 FPS limit on Switch 2 has been resolved. So, good news there if you're someone who wanted to play Overwatch that was called Overwatch 2 on the Switch 2. Should be much better. I have not checked it out myself. I'm not a big Overwatch person, but let me know down in the comments if it's been resolved to the point where, okay, it's a locked 60 or 60-ish, and if it looks much, much better on the Switch 2, or I guess about the same as the Switch 1, just with better frame rate. Oh, and speaking of frame rate, we did indeed get the announcement for Yooka Replaylee on the Switch 2, and it was done in a fun way from Playtonic. They had this video that mostly, again, just tongue-in-cheek, referencing the internet and the fact that Replaylee was locked at 30 FPS on the Switch 2, and it wasn't the greatest experience there for a 3D platformer, but that patch is now live. So you can update and download all that stuff on your Switch 2 for this game. And the thing that I've seen so far is people are saying the visuals are pared back, like resolution might be lowered a bit there, maybe just quality of the different models on the screen. But they do at least now have a performance mode option for 60 FPS. Typically, in a 3D platformer, I would opt to lower the visual settings to get a smoother 60 FPS. It does come down to, though, how pared back everything is. So let me know if you've tried this mode out with performance, if it's pared back to the point where it's not worth it, or if it still looks pretty good and now it's smooth at 60. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with a surprise, out of left field console announcement. No one was expecting this at all. The Neo Geo AES Plus. Yes, this is a thing, and this is announced online with PlayOn, had the full announcement that I saw, and I was going through it. I said, oh, okay, cool. It's going to be a nice little, one of those little emulation boxes that has 20 built-in games or something. They'll do their best to recreate the joystick. It'll be probably pretty cheap, and it'll go along with this little mini system. Not the case. Way different than I thought we were going to see here, and I'm actually quite impressed and very happy, because what I would like to see is this set maybe a new trend, a precedent for the industry, for a lot of these companies when it comes to some of their legacy hardware, and then maybe reviving it. I mean, what we're about to see here, it feels like they are just re-releasing the Neo Geo AES from back in the 90s. All right, so let's start here from the top. They have a full trailer showing this off, as well as a webpage with a ton of information that does include pre-order details. For the Neo Geo AES Plus, those pre-orders are now open. The thing will be launching November 12th, 2026, so towards the end of the year, for the price of $250. That's the standard model. There's also an anniversary all-white model that's a bit more expensive, but the standard package here does come with a wired arcade stick controller, of course, that mimicking as like a one-to-one replica with the system and that controller. HDMI cable, they say the HDMI output is low latency, as you would expect with something that is trying to be like that arcade, almost perfect experience at home. And then naturally a power supply. I say naturally. How many times do we get systems or devices and they don't come with power bricks anymore? So yeah, that probably is something I should point out in marketing. Here's the thing though, okay, I'm going through this and I'm thinking, oh, okay, what kind of ARM chip are they powering this with? What, A55, you know, some basic thing. No, they're powering this with ASIC chips, so they're not going the emulation route. Again, feels like they're just re-releasing the Neo Geo AES outright, like the actual hardware all over again. This works with new cartridges, which we'll get to here in a second, along with original old cartridges that you may be fortunate enough to still have in a closet somewhere. It was a big deal if you knew anyone with a Neo Geo AES back in the day. It was an even bigger deal if they had more than like 2 or 3 cartridges. There are dip switches for language selection, overclocking, and different display modes you can jump between. And if you're someone who really enjoys playing your systems on a CRT, this has full AV output for compatibility there. So they were thinking about everything with this. The gamepad, they do have one, like a standard looking gamepad from the Neo Geo. That will be available for $60. Additional arcade sticks they have set up at $120. There is this Ultimate Edition that's pointed out. It's $1,000, okay? And this, I think it basically just comes with everything. I mean, everything. There's even a memory card you can get, comes with that as well, along with 10 different games that they will have set for launch. I was looking through the games, they're like $60 each from what I was seeing, and it's pretty cool. They do come with a really nice looking case, like there's Metal Slug, looked awesome there, with an instruction manual. Shocking, right? But we'll go over some of the games. Metal Slug, King of Fighters 2002, Garo Mark of the Wolves, Big Tournament Golf, Shock Troopers, Samurai Showdown 5 Special, Polestar, Twinkle Star Sprites, Magician Lord, and Overtop. All right. And these new games will also work on the original AES hardware. Now, I don't have a lot of nostalgia for the Neo Geo AES, mostly because I didn't have one when I was younger, and I didn't know anyone who had one. Go figure, the system, when it came out in 1990 or 1991 or whatever, it's like more than $600. That's very expensive. And then the games themselves were hundreds of dollars back then. So as I mentioned, it was a big deal if you knew anyone who had one. It was a bigger deal if they had the system and then multiple games. The whole thing was, hey, we're gonna bring this arcade perfect experience into the living room, because they just had the full arcade JAMA boards in these cartridges. The cartridges were massive, by the way. Huge pieces of plastic that you just jam into the top of the cartridge slot on the system. And it worked well. It was the arcade experience, but it was quite expensive to get there. Certainly geared towards enthusiasts, and that's probably why there are many people out there who have heard of the Neo Geo AES, seen it in heard it whispers, circles and stuff, but it's like, I don't have one, I don't have experience. And then even after that, they're expensive online as it is in the retro community. So this is really cool to see pop up. I know, $250, sure. That doesn't seem that bad for Neo Geo AES, especially when you start stacking games on top of it, and it's like one-to-one replica. A lot of this will come down to the quality, though, of this device. They are saying a lot in terms of, oh, we're trying to get as close to the original. You know, there's going to be people who are like sticklers for that, and they're going to be measuring and really, really running those comparisons. But if they're just like right there, like they're close enough, I think at that price point, it's hard to argue. They still have to pull all of this off for launch later this year, but from what at least they're promising, I'm excited to see more about this, and I think I will be picking one of these up. Now, here's the thing that I'm really hopeful here, okay? we are seeing effectively a relaunch of a system from the 90s. And I wasn't expecting that. I'm expecting the kind of the cheaper alternative, the easier route, if you will, loading up some basic ARM chip that is enough to emulate and just kind of live with some of the drawbacks that can happen with latency or just not perfect one-to-one reproduction of the games when they're being played. So what this could set, hopefully, in terms of precedent or interest from other companies like, I don't know, Sega, they go, oh, people are interested in spending hundreds of dollars for a mini system or a replica of an older device that we made way back in the day. Would people want to buy a Dreamcast, like a new Dreamcast system? I've already seen that get brought up, and I mean, I would buy a Dreamcast system if it was redone like what we're seeing here with Neo Geo AES Plus. I don't think they're going to sell a crazy amount of systems here, but they could sell out. That also wouldn't surprise me if they sell thousands of units or something. And I do wonder if that's enough to catch someone like Sega their eye. I don't think Nintendo will ever go back and be like, hey, let's remanufacture the Super Nintendo. But they did try the mini systems and those seem to work. So I guess you never know. But what an interesting thing to see pop up here. And it makes me very, very excited for what this could bring. But for now, Neo Geo AES Plus lining up for November 2026. Let me know if you're picking this up and which games, because yeah, I'm going to go ahead and grab the standard model, but then I do have to pick out a few. I mean, the obvious ones, Metal Slug or Samurai Showdown, Garo Mark of the Wolves, but I can see people maybe just buying all of them and just going, you know what? I'll just go ahead and grab that Ultimate Edition for $1,000, which is probably what they're trying to get you to do anyway. Next up, let's talk about Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, and we've been covering this for a while because, I mean, for a bit there, it was just leaking out online constantly that Ubisoft was indeed going to be remaking Black Flag, and why wouldn't they? It's, for a lot of people, it's one of the more popular ones. It's like, what are your favorite Assassin's Creed? 2 and Black Flag are always the ones that are mentioned. But now it seems like we have a release date for it because there was an event that happened yesterday, and we can see this. This is over on Insider Gaming, who just outright says Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced will launch July 9th, 2026. So yeah, we're not that far off. We're less than 3 months away from this game releasing, going on to say despite original plans for the game to be revealed today, April 16th, Ubisoft has decided to postpone the announcement until next week, while media and content creators received a roughly 30-minute presentation of the game earlier today. They say, while we won't spoil what the game has in store, we can say it's been completely reworked with a bunch of new content and updates, and honestly, it looks awesome. But one thing was made clear, okay, this is something apparently at the presentation that they were saying, up front, really honing in on this, despite the rumors and rumblings. Black Flag Resynced is not an RPG, and I think there are Assassin's Creed fans out there, long-time Assassin's Creed fans, I should say, that are breathing a sigh of relief after hearing that, so that you won't have to get the weapons that have certain attack points or be certain levels for different things. Now, there's still going to be some progression elements to the game, of course, but it's not going to be like what you've seen in some of the more recent big-budget AAA Assassin's Creed mainline titles, and I think that's great. And I actually have pretty high expectations for Black Flag Resynced just because it is one of the more beloved Assassin's Creed games. It does, to me, look like a game that Ubisoft should be able to cash in pretty easily on. I mean, as long as it's not like they don't just ruin the game completely, if they just stick to the tried and true formula and don't overthink it. I like the idea of new content being added in and stuff. This should be one that does well for them. So I am looking forward to this reveal that seems to be set up for next week, and people have already seen it. So maybe there are some other leaks that happen over the weekend, but otherwise seems like we're setting up for a pretty fun reveal next week. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Fairgames. So this is a game that was revealed about 3 years ago now from Haven Studio, Jade Raymond Studio. Sony bought them. Jade Raymond has now left, and everyone's just wondering what happened to Fairgames. Does it still have the $ on the end? Because apparently it doesn't. This is at least some of the reports going around. But we're starting to get some more information on this game, and I mean, it's eventually they have to show it again and decide if the game's even coming out, I guess. At least it does appear they're still working on it, because with a new report in Insider Gaming, we can see they say, at least for one of the game's flagship game modes named Cargo Heist, it is basically an extraction shooter with an objective, even comparing it here to Marathon with a contract for those who have played. All right, so this is the game mode. We have some of the steps that go along with that. Break in is how they describe it. You find a vault code to gain access to the safe. You get cash, upgrade your skill set, make your play. You then drill so the vault gets breached, right? This is all parts, I assume, as you're going through this game mode that other teams are all coming together to do, competing with each other even. So it's been breached. You got to grab the cargo. You got to set up your strategy to intercept it if you don't have it. And then, yeah, you have to extract. So you got to bring that cargo to the extraction site and then use an extraction device to call your ride home. Okay. Fairgames is already on its back foot. People have already decided they don't like this game, and to show up and then be like, hey guys, we're an extraction shooter. Okay. I don't know how well that's going to work. And in fact, Insider Gaming goes on to say reports and rumors of the game throughout its development have said that playtesters found the game, quote, not fun, which Insider Gaming understands has been a persistent problem throughout the game's development. Yeah, that feels like that's a problem. If you're making a video game, that the whole point of video game is fun. And if the playtesters keep saying it's not fun, I mean, I'm shocked that Fairgames is still in development with all the stuff that Sony has canceled, the studios that they've shut down. Somehow, some way, Fairgames still in development. People point to Media Molecule. Guys, as long as Fairgames is in play, to me, that's the most shocking thing, that it's still upright currently. And I mean, this could be something where we don't even find out that they've canceled Fairgames until months later, because I figure with Fairgames goes Haven. Like, I don't really know why you have Haven if Fairgames doesn't come out. So I feel like this game has to be free to play. Like, it's already on its back foot. You ask for $40, that's going to be kind of, I think, problematic. Free to play, people might at least give it a chance. And I saw some discussions that, oh yeah, maybe it actually could be free to play. So maybe that's the better path forward there. It's tough. The name itself is tainted, Fairgames. So they show up again and they're like, oh yeah, now also it's an extraction shooter. Man, it's got to exceed expectations. It's got to blow people away. That people got to go, hey, I've never seen something like this before. I got to play it. And I wouldn't really bet on that with Fairgames. But hey, let me know if you're a big Fairgames person. Somehow let me know in the comments what you think, why you're excited for it. I'm genuinely interested to hear like the other side of this whole thing, because it hasn't been a good run so far for Fairgames with even the limited amount we've seen, but also some of the stuff happening behind the scenes with Haven. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, have you ever owned a Neo Geo system? Now, look, I say a Neo Geo system because there are multiple. I mean, the AES is the one that was just in the news, obviously, but there's like a Neo Geo CD, right? That was the thing. There was the Neo Geo X Gold that came out, in the last 10 years or so. I mean, there's some other things you could have pointed to, but I mean, you can see 94% say no, 6% say yes. I think you can ask if you've played some of those games on a Neo Geo system, just not on the system itself, because they've been ported to multiple different devices. But playing it on that Neo Geo system, we had one one came in at a point at the store, and I actually had to fix it, which I was able to, and we had 2 cartridges, and I think one was King of Fighters. That's the most experience I've had with a Neo Geo AES in person. So again, I'm almost curious about getting the AES Plus just to be able to try it, almost for the first time. Not necessarily the games, again, played them, but be able to play it on that system, massive cartridge going into the top of it, and then playing on that arcade stick that's a 1-to-1 replica. That could be a lot of fun, and I think they might have something here if the quality is up to a certain standard, so I'm very hopeful for it. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from TGH, who says, a friend of mine bought a PS5 Pro, and he wanted to just give me his base PS5, but I gave him $250 for it. I think that's a heck of a deal. I'm not much of a PlayStation gamer, but getting to play Demon's Souls Remake for the first time is really cool as a huge FromSoft fan. Yeah, the Demon's Souls Remake was good. Bluepoint, I think, did a good job on it. People go back and forth on the art style, like the direction, and I mean, sure, but the game itself plays really, really well. $250 for a PS5, not bad. Yeah, if you have a friend who's going to trade in a system to get another system, it's worth checking with them how much money they're going to get back for it, because sometimes you hear the value and you're like, oh, I mean, I'll just give you that amount, and then I'll get the system. That's a tried and true method. I mean, don't rip them off. Be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're going to get in this case, $250 for it. Maybe when you trade it in, I'll just give you that and get a PS5 on like heavy discount. And yeah, a PS5, right? I mean, they're $600 for a PS5 digital. With a disc drive, $650, hey, $250, not bad. And I do think the cross-gen period for that PS5 is going to be going for a long time, like a while. You might look around in 2035 and still see the PS5 logo popping up on some of these third-party games. So you got a long road in front of you, what I'm saying, with the PS5, even though you're getting it in year 6 now, so you're good shape there for $250. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card, or maybe you wanted to hear more about some laws that are working to be passed for live service games that some of these game publishers aren't gonna be very excited to hear. I did a whole video looking into that down below. Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for Newswave.